Hi. Oh, there goes Chris.
Oh, skirt him already.
There he is.
uh, Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome back to Delight and Fright. I'm Luna, and this is my lovely co host, Kat. We are joined tonight by Colin and Chris, and we are going to take a deep dive and a reflective look at The Devil's Backbone, directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's a ghost story, yes, but to call it entirely that would be missing the point. It was released in 2001. The Devil's Backbone is set during the final days of the Spanish Civil War. But instead of focusing on the battlefield, it centers into the isolated orphanage. Already a pretty haunting setting, the orphanage becomes a microcosm for the larger conflict happening outside its walls. We follow Carlos, a young boy who arrives there after his father is killed. Almost immediately, he is confronted not just with the harsh realities of war, but something supernatural. Ooh.
Hmm.
So, how did first receptions of the film? How did we all find it?
Well, this is classic Del Toro, pre-Netflix Del Toro.
Yeah,
This is why we were fans, and then why we scratch our heads now and go, "What happened to you, man?"
midlife crisis. I don't know.
He
Who
can't be
made
good
you?
all the time.
Honestly think it's the Netflix deals that he got. Just he's having to conform to their fluffiness, so it's sort of taking away his edge. But this is, you know, what I mean, this is similar vein to Pan's Labyrinth. You know, back in the day when he broke out, we were all like, somebody was something different and a unique style of storytelling.
Yeah, when the darkness still lied beneath.
Hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Yeah.
What was your overall feeling of this film?
So I was genuinely surprised because I had never seen this before. I've always talked on Colin's show that I'm sort of a newbie. I've seen some of the silly horror comedies over the years. Evil Dead, Gremlins, like very very. What do you
Yeah.
say? I dipped my toes into the baby pool. I think
The
Colin
sort of
calls it.
shallow end. I think you're more the shallow
Shallow.
end
The
now. You've
shallow one.
progressed.
So I hadn't seen this before, and I was expecting it to be, scary and evocative, and it was all those things. But I was surprised at how genuinely moved I was by the story and these kids, and it was very powerful. Like I finished watching it, and I was like, I just like sat like in the darkness for about a half hour just thinking about the movie, and I can't remember the last time I did that. I'm usually on to the next thing. My mind is a million places, a little ADHD going on. I just wanted to like sit and just like contemplate it. That's how like moving it was. Yeah, very, very powerful movie.
Before we start discussing a little more about the film in its entirety, let's just show the trailer real quick, and so that way our viewers, if you have not seen it, it's a 25-year-old film, so y'all enjoy.
music kind of ruins us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like very Godzilla type music. Like what the
Oh God.
feels
I
very
don't.
action.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't. I don't super do love jump scares. This had like one scene where it was the keyhole scene. Woo! I was like, no, no, no. I knew it was gonna pop up, but it still got me, and I was like, ah, why?
Was
Stupid
this your
kid.
first time seeing it, Luna?
Yes, it
Oh
was.
wow.
Yes, it was my first time seeing it. I believe it or not, I have not seen many Spanish, even though I speak Spanish. I have not seen many Spanish horror movies or many movies at all in Spanish because I don't know. It was just not something that we did. So it was interesting because I was hearing it in Spanish, but I was trying to read the subtitles at the same time. And I'm like, fuck, I need to pick a language. Do I want to listen to it in Spanish or do I want to read it? So that was a little difficult. So I had to like train my brain to like do one or the other and not like dick around with both. Cause then I'd be like, hey, he said this, but the translation says this. What the hell, man?
It's never going to be completely accurate.
It,
But
no,
you find yourself in a unique situation though. There's so much amazing Spanish horror out there that I wish I could understand Spanish easily so I didn't have to try to keep up with all the words at the bottom. so so
yeah.
you can definitely, just enjoy those and then turn the subtitles off if it gives you that option.
is it? I don't know. Maybe it's just being over in Europe. We're used to, I mean, we watched loads of movies, so I've always grown up with subtitles, and I hate dubbed because you just don't get the impact, the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I always mention this one, the Devil's Blacksmith. That's a German medieval horror movie
Mm-hmm.
set in German medieval times, and I watched it briefly dubbed, and everyone has a Southern Californian accent because that's what the localizers. And I just go, nope,
Nope.
get that,
Yeah.
nope, off, get
Mm-hmm.
that off immediately. That is horrible. Please don't do that ever again. Like it's offensive.
I think for me, I know very little Spanish. Like I could ask where the library is. Donde está la biblioteca? That's pretty much all I remembered from 4 years of Spanish class. I didn't mind the subtitles at all. I think the only time that it really kind of failed, and I wanted to ask your opinion, Luna, because you said you're bilingual, so you could see both sides to this, was the poetry. I felt like the poetry didn't translate well. When I was reading the subtext, it was very clunky. I was like, it's just probably beautiful in Spanish, but when the poetry was the part that I didn't think translated well to English, or maybe they just weren't translating it correctly because it made very little sense.
Yeah. So let me use an example. If there's some metaphors that work really well in Spanish, but in English, if I tell you, if I say like the wall in the stone, you'll be like, huh? But if you say if we use that saying in Spanish, so it makes sense. So that poem read to me more as like something that you would say in Spanish that if you use like word for word translation, it doesn't translate well. Like there's also to an anime, they started doing this where there's a joke, but it doesn't translate well to the English audience because it's just like so random. So they have to make an English joke. So what I would have done when he was reading that poem is instead of trying to translate the actual like word, get the message that you're trying to say and then say that in English, if that makes sense. So it
Yeah,
translates a little better because sometimes the literal meaning just doesn't go well.
Yeah, local colloquialisms as well. Also, did you
Exactly.
find a difference between Spanish and Latin American Spanish?
Yes, and Spaniard Spanish too. That's Catalan. I found it hilarious because they use all Mexican actors, so they were using Mexican slang, but this movie was supposed to be taking place in Spain. So I'm like, they would never use that
Yeah,
word because
I was just outside Malaga, you know what I mean? It was,
yeah, they were using Mexican Spanish.
and everyone's
Because
going,
obviously,
no, hey, caramba, hey. I'm like, that's the.
yeah, they were using slightly different Spanish, and they definitely were not using Catalan Spanish because Catalan Spanish is very lispy. It has the S after everything. They'll be like so. They have like a weird S sound after everything they say. In the Spaniards do. So it's very interesting. It's pretty awesome though, like the differences, and you can tell like if you grew up in a particular region in Mexico, you go, yeah, that's Mexican Spanish. Where here, where I live in Florida, we have a large population of Cubans and Puerto Ricans, and I can tell they're Cuban or Puerto Rican because of the way they speak in Spanish. So it's because it's very different than our Spanish in Mexico. So that's pretty interesting. But so the orphanage, ooh, that place was just macabre, and I'd like to discuss a little bit about um how the Spanish Civil War, Carlos is left there because of the children that lost their parents in the war. His dad died in combat, so that we already get like dumped with a bunch of trauma right there on the spot. And what did you
This
guys? Yeah.
Spanish Civil War lasted almost as long as the Second World War. This is the time when just everything was ramping up. You know, Europe was just gearing for World War Two, and you had two factions. You know what I mean? You'd obviously Germany and fascism taking one side, and you had the communists taking the other. And God, this is all still the fallout from World War One. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's all Europe it's always done this. I mean, pops up dictators left, right, and center, and it was just the way of things. And Spain still never recovered from the Napoleonic Wars. You know, what I mean, being involved in that. This is, you know, what I mean, this is all back. You know, and obviously Catalan wanting this independence, and uh, it's all a whole mixed bag of things. And that period of history is just brutal if you looked into it. And I always think it's a strange thing to say, but the Second World War was almost a relief because Spain was able to take a side and sort of step back from tearing itself apart.
I was just going to add to that. I was going to say something along the same lines. I think that there's something to a civil war that is just inherently more brutal, and just the fact that it's your neighbor, it's your friend, you look the same. I mean, obviously all war is awful, you know, people are people, killing is killing, but there's just something like even worse and tragic about a civil war. So like some of the scenes we see where they shoot the, you know, the people in the back of the head lined up, like they were all on, neighbors like a week earlier helping each other, you know, during difficult economic times. And now, you know, they're killing each other and just fighting over very little resources. It's just, there's something very, very brutal about it. And just added to the tragic feel of the entire movie. Yeah.
It definitely makes it more personal when it's
Mm.
that type of war. You know,
Mhm.
it's you can't be like, oh, it's just political. Excuse me.
Yeah. And like Colin was saying, like World War II, at least you're fighting, you know, Germans or Russians or whoever, you know, whoever's on the other side. It's, you know, they look different uniforms. It's almost cathartic after this kind of brutal civil war, you know, for so long. So definitely that set the tone early on.
Yeah. For me, what two things that set the tone that I knew things were going to be a little rough is the silent threat in the center of the courtyard sat that unexploded bomb that it was just a constant visual reminder of the war's lingering presence and the just how fragile the children's safety was really. And another thing too that kind of struck me and stood out, while our children were eating like barely anything, here's freaking Jacinto eating like fresh apples, fresh produce, all this stuff, and I'm like, why the fuck does he get it? Why don't the kids get fresh apples and shit? Like, what is he so special? But we definitely
Yeah,
uncover a
yeah.
lot more.
I
Did
call
you
him
notice
fuck
that?
boy. I call him fuck boy. That's what I
Yeah.
call him.
That's a great nickname for him. He was such an asshole. Oh, he just was really upsetting. So, what did you guys think was the silent threat in this? Was it the structure, the bomb, kind of the kids and how mean they were? Like, what did you guys think was
I
like?
thought it was, the take on Ghost, and how the beginning mirrors the end of the film, his whole narrative, his monologue, so to say. I just love that, and the bomb kind of just being there, frozen in time, is like just
Mhm.
a reminder of, are we all just ghosts, or soon to be? We're just pre-ghost, just
Yeah.
whatever the situation is that's coming down
Mm,
the pipes.
yeah.
Right.
The only
So,
thing about the bomb was they explained it away like early on. Oh, the army's been here and defused it. You're like, oh,
Yeah, no,
you know,
they
it's
didn't.
like, oh, you didn't have to tell us that. You know, that
No,
could
they
have lingered
didn't.
on.
yeah, I didn't super mind that because it kind of gives you the perspective that to me it felt like a burden though. Yeah, the army came and defused it, but it's too heavy to actually remove it, so we're just gonna have to leave it there.
I,
Colin's doing his ghost impression right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Too.
yeah.
Whoa,
Woo!
Poof.
was that just
Ooh.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just you for a second.
Oh,
I
But
never believed it for a minute. I was just like, they just told the kids that to make them feel better. They were like, "Hey, it's inert. Yeah, we took care of it," and they were just like,
And then they start banging on it. I'm like, oh my god, don't touch it. Just leave it the hell alone. That was like anxiety inducing because you don't ever want to touch like weapons of war, especially like big bombs like that. Like you just unless you're a trained artillery person, just leave it the fuck alone.
yeah, because like how good is this the person who diffused it? Do we really know? What if they did a thorough job? But what I liked about the movie is that they don't tell you up front, who the bad guy is. In fact, they kind of subvert your expectations. You're expecting it to be the ghost. Oh, the ghost is killing these kids. The ghost is the real enemy in this movie, and then it's revealed that it's Jacinto, which I really love that because it's just a much more engrossing movie when it's a moving target, when you don't know where the threat is coming from at first. So I thought that was a really cool twist
Yeah.
that Guillermo did.
I totally agree with that because Chris, I thought it was the ghost. And then I thought it was that bully kid. I'm like, oh,
Right.
he must have
"Mm,
killed Santi for some sort of wicked child thing. And then we uncover, spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it, but watch it. It's a really good watch. Carlos learns that Santi was murdered by Jacinto, who is obsessed with gold and riches and wanting more and more and more. He's just not happy with his current life of I'm gonna have a purpose in my life and take care of these children. He wants total power and gold and riches and we see his true character at the end with everything he does as a person.
Because isn't that the real evil when you think about it? Is it's not a supernatural thing. The scariest thing is humanity and greed. And I think the fact that that was the ultimate enemy and not a supernatural ghost, the true evil was greed and human nature. That's what caused the war. That's what caused all the tragedy. So I just thought that was a really powerful message that I think is true to this day.
Remove the ghost, and you've got a really tight thriller here because this ghost story and that actually, uh, what does Santi want? That's sort of in the background. This is a character study of how people deal with their lot in life because you've all sorts of nobody here is straight out goody baddie. And they're human, and like Carmen's an interesting character. Uh, what's his face? The weekend Jaime. And he turned out to be an interesting character study. These are kids that are born into war. Even Carlos, he's more of a point of view character. because he's just been shunted in here and
Mhm.
he's sort of revealing everything, but um he's not the main focus, if that makes sense. He's sort of there, but it's how do people deal with their lot, and you still have jealousy, forbidden love, faithfulness, loyalty. It's all the mixed bag, and how even good traits can be poisonous. Like Dr. Caesari's, he's loyal to a fault, but you see that there's certain scenes where he knows exactly what's going on with Carmen, etc. And yeah, even to his own detriment, he he remains loyal, but he's getting nothing out of the relationship, and even that has a hard edge to it, and it's just interesting, even with the way Carlos was abandoned almost, because they're going to the front to carry on fighting. They didn't even tell him his father's gone, and everything his world just he thought he had a purpose, he had a place, and then it turns out he didn't. He's just a burden. And all that was played out, and it was great. Like I said, this is Del Toro. This is the Del Toro we know, and
Mhm.
I hate the way the mainstream or the studios do this. They've done it with Robert Eggers as well. Like it's like they have to sanitize these people and cut their limbs off, which is such a shame.
Yeah, we see a lot of stuff like that with different studios. Change this, change this, change that, and they kind of lose themselves in the process. It's always
Mhm.
stark to see that.
Or
Y-
they do one for the studio and one for themselves. They're like,
Mhm.
okay, this will just be for me. If they're able to, have time for that.
Definitely. The best part for me personally is when the revenge scene, the children eventually band together to take down Jacinto, leading to a climax where the living and the dead find a form of justice in a way. And I find it kind of gross that Jacinto throws poor Santi in the water. That water which they used to drink out of.
I was going to ask that. That's actually
Mhm.
well, like this looks like it was a brewery or a winery or something. You know what I mean? It's actually
Mhm.
for production of wine. You see the cask, etc., and then it's like, hold on, that's drinking water. That's been there. Oh god,
And it mirrors the children and then the title of the film in the jars and
Mhm.
him drinking the
Yeah.
liquor that's been in there. And you're just
God, I
like,
thought the
oh,
French were rancid, but oh my god.
Just imagine the
desperate
smell.
times.
Yeah, I mean, you would think he would put the kid somewhere else, but don't throw him in the
I I
wet
l I
water.
love the special effects, though, every time we saw, Santos. It was just beautiful with the ash or the dust, and
Oh
then
yeah, the blood,
yeah,
the
it was
trail of
like he was
blood.
underwater, but he wasn't, and I was like, "That was really beautiful." I
It's
just
almost like translucent in a way. It was
Mhm.
Yeah.
very, very cool. Yeah.
So some of the film highlights, one of the ones that I'd like to discuss with you guys now is this film really is a prime example of Del Toro's Mexican Gothic style. He blends historical tragedy with atmospheric, like supernatural elements. Did you guys get that vibe too? That it was just like kind of gothic in a way.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, this is early
Absolutely.
Del Toro. This is what he. I just can't say again. What a shame the way he's been neutered. You know, by studios now, especially Netflix. It's like, why? This is what he does. These are like this is a 25-year-old film, and you could release that today. And if you look at the dust, like we just saw the car driving up the dust, the griminess, the actual the sets he builds. Like when we did the Frankenstein review, that was Del Toro polished up. You know what I mean? If he was allowed to build the sets like this, oh my
Yeah.
Mhm.
god, where you look at that and it looks like a set. And this
Hmm.
is what I've said about the shame, as a Del Toro fan. I just think this is what he does best. This is he creates the setting and the story then tells itself from the look. And like I said, just even the milk and bread, and uh, they're sitting there. That's all they have, and there's a conversation about like straight away when Carlos arrives. Do you have an apple? It doesn't matter if it is bruised or a piece of fruit. You know what I mean? It's without giving you 10 minutes of exposition. They're desperate. You know what I mean? You know that nobody's having a good time. Everyone's eking out an existence from day to day, and this is a forgotten place. This is almost looked on with shame. It's just far enough outside the nearest village that they can send kids there, but also forget about it and pretend that it's not happening. This is they can fight their cause, and this is the consequence of fighting their cause, whatever side. It doesn't. Once and also you're not told what side to take, which I am sick of today. You will take this side because we're telling you. No, this is a human tragedy story, and you can easily have. And this was the side of the Reds, but it could easily be an orphanage on the other side. It doesn't matter. It's the tragedy of war and conflict, and human misery, and also human resilience, and even in that, like spitefulness, jealousy, just self-centeredness takes. Still there's still time for that. People still have time to be dicks. And
Yeah. It sticks to you, and that's what his early work is so reminiscent of. It impacts you, like Chris was saying. After the film, he had to take a break and just kind of let it all kind of sink in. And I realized this is something I didn't realize before. At the end, he says he dedicates it to his parents. So I thought that was extremely beautiful and sad all at the same time as well.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I think what's Cesar, what's his name? The older gentleman, Caesar
Cesares.
Caceres. I'm sorry. So if you look at him, he's almost maybe analogous to Guillermo's parents. The sacrifice that he makes for those kids, the fact that he stays and he's loyal. There's a lot of, I don't know his parents, but you could make the case that there's a lot of parents that sometimes it's easy to leave. Maybe the parents don't get along, and the husband wants to leave, wants a new life, wants this isn't what he signed up for. Midlife crisis sort of thing. There's a lot of examples, and of course wives as well. It goes both ways. But the fact that he stayed behind, I wonder if Guillermo it was almost like a love letter to his parents. Thank you for staying behind.
Till the end, yeah.
Yeah, almost basically, dying for those kids, doing whatever he could at his own peril. But another thing I wanted to point out to your question before, Luna, about Guillermo with the Gothic style, and his style is all new to me. But an interesting choice I thought he made was with the ghost, because you could make a case, and I think, Colin, you mentioned it before, how the ghost really could be removed and the story works the same way. The kids are the ones that band together with the sticks, and they really take care of Jacinto. I mean, when he goes into the water, he's already not coming out. Like, the ghost really doesn't do much, which was a very interesting choice, because in these types of movies, I feel like the ghost is usually the one that saves the day for the kids, and the fact that the ghost really wasn't the savior. They saved each other.
Exactly.
I thought that was a really interesting choice by Guillermo, and much different than any other director. And I give him credit for that.
Yeah.
I agree, and it mirrors, life. You got to save yourself sometimes. There's not going to be anybody out there to save you. You have to work with what you got, and that's what those kids did. I mean, they Buffy the Vampire Slayered his ass. It's like, yes,
Make tears on the spot.
Did you like the way we weren't spoon fed? Like, they were given a lesson with the mammoth in the
Yeah.
classroom.
Mhm.
And the lesson was, you have to work together. That's what they had to do to take down something that size. And then that
Take the
was,
mammoth.
but if that was done today, we would get that scene from the lesson replayed just in case you forgot, because you're too stupid to take a story on. Do you know what I mean? Where that was
Yeah.
planted
Uh-huh.
and it was just left, and then when you see them acting, they didn't have to show you the picture,
Of the
the
mammoth.
painting of the hunter group, because you were trusted as an audience member to pay attention
Mm-hmm.
and
And
pick
I
up that
love
reference.
too when she was talking about the weight of her leg, and then they broke open the safe. They couldn't find the gold, even though it'd been 20 years since I've seen this last. I was like, oh, I remember where it is now.
That was, once again, you're trusted as an audience member. This is what I bang on about, with stories, and why I get so disappointed with
Yeah.
current tellings, because they forget this is storytelling. This is cinematography. This is somebody, who's lived life, has a bit of putting their personality in it. It's not drab, and you're given a bit of respect as a viewer. Okay, you pick up on these points and you'll get something from it. Pay attention, put your phone down. Like, did anybody pick up their phone and scroll during this?
I
You know,
didn't.
No.
do you know what I mean? You just got
Yeah.
immersed, even from the opening scene, and like even the war itself is a backdrop. You know what I mean? It's not all about that. You're told it's a war. You're told it's the setting, but that's not the story. And I like that. You know what I mean? I miss that about films.
Mhm.
Bring
Yeah.
it back.
Definitely. For me, I thought the whole leg being heavy thing, I thought it was a metaphor. When she said it, I thought, oh, she means like it's a burden to
Mm.
have a handicap. It's a burden. Like that must be a big burden. But I didn't think it was literal. Like my leg is so heavy. I thought this is a heavy burden.
No,
But
it was both though. It was both. She was
yeah,
giving the metaphor, but
Mhm.
then it
Double entendre. You know what I mean? It's
yeah yeah.
that
it's
was pretty
you
cheeky. Because I didn't catch it at all. I'm gonna be 1,000% honest, but also a lot of things in movie will like woo, go past my head, and then I'll go, oh, like 20 minutes later,
But once
I
again,
gotta
this shows
get good.
we could put this movie on right now and watch it and still enjoy it. Where
I
a
think
lot
for
of
me and
movies,
Luda, yeah, for me and
yeah,
Luda, this is our first time, and
Yeah,
sounds like we both enjoyed it.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it could have been released.
For me, what stood out the most is like any other Del Toro film, Ghosty is portrayed with deep sympathy, while the primary monster is definitely revealed to be a human driven by greed, symbolizing that the monster isn't really the monster. Like in Shape of Water, the monster
Mhm.
wasn't really a monster. He
Mhm.
has a tendency to humanize the monsters. Even to a certain degree in Frankenstein. But I love that. I kind of knew like Santi cannot be the bad guy because he's the monster. And I know there's a human element to him. And I was just waiting for that to be revealed. But it was very interesting how the human, the one that's supposed to be the caretaker, ends up being the most villainous piece of shit you've ever met.
Mhm.
I don't want to use bad language, but that guy was
You
a real
can.
jerk. That
He's a
guy was a
Oh,
real
dick.
jerk.
you
He's a
you
dick.
can
Yep.
say whatever you want in
He was
here.
100% a dick.
Yep.
That Jacinto was a grade A jerk.
But even the way he treated his fiance,
Mhm.
like she was
Oh,
an
Yeah.
accessory.
yeah.
You
That
know what
was
I mean?
really sad.
And then he gives the kid back what the kid gave to her just to rub it in his face. Like,
Like,
really,
oh,
dude?
she's
That was
dead.
Really?
like
Oh, this
he
Yeah.
was
belongs to you.
jealous
Oh,
of a like 15-year-old. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? A kid, and it was purely innocent. I was a cigar wrapper. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? And yeah, that's cruel. You know what I mean? That's somebody who revels in what they do. They're not. It's not even
Mhm.
expediency. It's not even like, I think if he had got away with the gold, it lasted 6 months, and he
Mhm.
still wouldn't be happy. It's just one of them people.
And I love that his friends are like, fuck him. They just left his ass
Yep.
right when he finds it, the gold. They're like, screw this guy. I'm...
Yeah, I love the card that he found with I guess his parents or something had written on
Mhm.
the back of it. What was a prince without a kingdom? and that described him. I thought that was just a beautiful definition. Like, you could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have people to share it with, if you don't earn their respect, if you can't, if you're rich by yourself and no one in the world, if you're the last person left on earth and you have all the money in the world and it's just you, that's not worth anything. That's a miserable, sad, lonely existence.
We see this play out with celebrities.
Mhm.
The burned out celebrities, they supposedly have the world, but in the end, they have nothing because of no actual human connection. And this is like the complexity. There's so much going on here. Like I said, you can just pick a thread and follow it. Cesare's story, what I mean, why is he's effectively a cook? You know what I mean? And he has been. He's fond after Carmen, like even before the accident. He's besotted to this woman, and it makes no sense because she doesn't give a shit about him. Like, he's a pet. He's a tool. Um, Someone like Carmen running this orphanage is the worst person to run it. You know what I mean? She's not a sympathetic character when you get down to it.
But she's a
I liked
survivor.
Jaime. Yeah, but what's her motivation? Judy, she doesn't care about the kids. It's just something she feels like she has to do. That's been foisted on her by her husband, who seemed to be the actual caring person. Obviously, we don't meet him. He passed, but still, it's the complexity of her character. Obviously, Yahinto, he is a bit of a 2D character. I know he's like the foil. But look at Jaime. Jaime's a great character in this. Like, you think he's just your typical bully. We see him at the start, and you think it's him. You know what I mean, when Santi, is murdered. I thought it was a canal at first. That was cool, even the way that they didn't reveal it straight away. No, I thought they were at the edge of a canal. And then it turns out it's a sailor. But he gets his redemption arc. We realize that he's more of a complex character than we realize. Even the boys,
Yeah, like when he saved his life, when the new kid,
oh,
Carlos, right?
Carlos.
Saved his life when he fought back and knocked him out and he couldn't swim.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting choice by Guillermo. The beginning of the movie has the entire scene, well, obviously missing some very key parts of Jaime and Santi and everything like that, and the drowning, but then you get to see it played out from a different perspective. It's that twist where you're given bits of it, but you don't know the whole story, which I think is also kind of a hidden message that you have to see things from a different point of view to see the full story.
What I found most fascinating, and I want to get everybody's opinion on this, the film opens with a monologue asking, "What is a ghost?" Based on this story, do you think Del Toro believes ghosts are supernatural entities, or are they just unfinished business and trauma that we refuse to let go of?
a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of both. This is humanity. We leave. It's shock. It's dropping the pebble into the pond, sort of thing, and we all do that every day of our lives, even if we realize it or not, and to different degrees. And this is what happens. And like I said, the more extreme it's, the more the more of a stronger signal it creates.
Ooh,
Like
Colin, the pebble is the bomb. Ah!
there you go. Actually, yes. There you go. Even the way it drops. Actually, even the way it drops because of the mud.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even think that's clever. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
They
I just like
started.
this. I just like the way this movie makes me think.
Yeah.
I just actually think about things. That's I genuinely miss this type of storytelling. I wish it would come back. I would get this.
Yeah.
this is what movies are meant to do. They don't all have to, I mean, you can have your popcorn flicks. As you know, I like some silly stuff. But these sort of movies is I just like to just sit and just wonder about the world, and then you put your own experiences and stuff and translate um
And I saw
how
something recently actually called, I think it's Hokum. It's pronounced Hokum, Hokum. And it seems very similar to this, and it has like multiple story lines going on, and it just came together really beautifully as well. So you might want to look into that. I was trying not to like read too much information about it until I actually saw it, so it wouldn't give anything away. And I'm glad that I did, because I thought it was a really layered and good movie. Hokum.
Ooh,
Ooh,
have
check
to
that out.
we'll have to make note of that.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think Guillermo del Toro. I don't know his personal beliefs, but you get from the movie that he does believe in the supernatural, and I think it's more than just a metaphor of like trauma left behind. I do think there is something more to it. There's so much in this world that we don't know, and the fact that just the wind, you feel the wind, you can't see it. There's so much that there's out there that we can't see, but is still there, an echo, you're not talking, but you could hear the voice coming back. I do think that he is a believer of the supernatural in some extent. And if you didn't believe it with the Santo character, the final shot of Cesare, I'll get his name by the end of this, I promise, Cesare, just standing there as a shadow, watching the boys and saying, "I will remain." That was the sense I got, is that it was more than just a loose metaphor, that there is something more than what we could see.
And we can never see the impacts that we make on others a lot of the times too. So that can be seen as us being a ghost to someone else, because we're impacting their lives without physically kind of being there or even being aware sometimes. Like, you don't know if someone's having such a terrible day and you just hold the door open for them. You don't know if that's making a big impact on their life or not, but sometimes it can.
Two things that really stand out to me is when the doctor, right, he at the very end, he, of course, we see him pass away, and then when the kids are trapped, somebody opens the door for him. They find the handkerchief, his handkerchief. We obviously know he can't get there because he's very much dead, and that confirms it, because at the end of the film they go up there and he's still very much dead. So there is a ghost. I do believe he is saying that ghosts are real, but at the same time, if you really think about it this way, when, like, for example, the Battle of Gettysburg, right here in the United States, there's people claim to see soldiers in their regalias and with muskets and everything. And why? Because residual energy. I think that is what he's trying to go for when in this movie is, especially with Santi, he has that like blood coming out of his head. Why? Residual energy, the whole ghost thing. So even though the boys definitely did everything, there is that element of a ghost. And I think a ghost is both symbolic for unfinished business and the trauma of that is held, all the energy, all the stuff that happened there, but also to like an actual manifestation. And in this case, the doctor definitely wanted revenge. So he definitely helped the boys get out of that room, and yeah. So I think that's good.
Answer me this: when poor wee Marcus got dropped out the window, did anybody else feel that? Because I did.
Yeah.
I felt that crunch. I'm like,
Oh.
and he was more of a champ about it than me. If that was me, I'd be like, oh, he's just like rubbing his ankle. Like, yeah, I
would have been Pee Wee Herman. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, that
And that was not super special effects. Once again, that was just proper timing, proper camera work, and the right sound effect. I mean, that was
Yeah.
cheap, yet I felt that. But when that angle went over, I'm like, oh god,
Yeah.
wasn't blood and guts and gore. It was just a simple thing because we've all been there, haven't we? We've all landed wrong and stuff, and like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
But
all rolled an ankle or two.
mhm.
I broke
that-
my hand, so I definitely understand the pain of breaking shit.
But that's a good point that you bring up, because at the end of the movie you see him limping, and they say that the town is at least a day's walk away, and the thought of this poor kid having to limp for an entire day.
Oh
Um,
god, that upset me too. I was like, oh
yeah, yeah, and I wanted to get your guys' take on. It didn't look like they went into that pool or the water to go get the gold. I didn't see them with anyone
No,
with
they
Yeah,
them.
don't.
they did.
So, like, and if you want to save this to the end, but just wondering, like, it's a happy ending in a way, in that they survive and that Jacinto met his correct demise, and justice was served. But I don't know about those kids. I don't know about those kids.
well, I think it really points at their innocence. They don't, maybe they don't know the value of gold. Maybe they don't know that they're gonna need it. They're not thinking of that mindset of like that greed. I need all this gold. I need to buy all this shit.
But I
They're
think who owns the gold, they're going to come back for it. They're going to come back looking. Wasn't it the army or something that she was holding the gold for
It was
originally?
it was the rebels that were.
Yeah, at some
Yep.
point they're going to come looking for it. So maybe the kids dodged a bullet, just like, let them have their adult problems.
I almost would have preferred if the doctor, as a ghost, was seen kind of traveling with them. Just in my head, it would have been like, all right, at least there's like a angel on their shoulders looking out for them. But no, he clearly said, "I will remain." So these kids are going off on their own into the scary world, and maybe that was a metaphor in and of itself. But without any food, without a
But I
day. Yeah.
think he's going to be there for all the kids that died there.
Mm.
He's going to stay with them and maybe help them to the afterlife, or I don't know.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't, what I mean, that doesn't stop. Once again, it's the complexities. But that's Cesare's problem. He stays. You know what I mean? That's his character flaw. When he should have moved on himself, he doesn't. He can't. He's unable to do it in life and in death.
Is that
He's
a
bound to
flaw,
have this.
though? Is that a flaw, or is that something to be, admired? And I think maybe what Guillermo thanks his parents, maybe there's some analogy to that.
No, but could he have been this? This orphanage is not a place that does good. It's a dumping ground. It's people want to forget. Is he an enabler? No, I mean, like I said, I'm not saying like this is. You're not being told what to think or what side to take. That's just questions, and it's up to
Mm.
yourself what you take. And that's what I mean. That's what I love about these movies, right? Is he enabling this, letting people just forget the children? Where if the children were there, would people maybe think twice about pulling the trigger? There's all those questions happen. By supporting Carmen, following her like a puppy, was that the right thing? Or if he had moved on himself, maybe become a field medic, um, joined the Equivalent of the Red Cross. I mean, there's still the night. No, the following on from the Nightingale movement was here during that time. There was loads of different aid agencies, even though, like for example, Britain wasn't involved. That Britain and France stayed back, but they still sent. There's individuals went to help the human suffering. Could he have done that? Would he have done more good?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like I
Well,
said,
I think he might have had a
you're-
bit of the hero complex, the
Hmm.
savior, wanting to try and save everyone and not saving himself in the process, and kind of losing himself and then just being stuck.
But once again, it's that selfish motivations because there's only one like really, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. Like good character, and that's Puri Conchita.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That's the only like ray of sunshine in this, and look what happened to her. It's everyone else has their own motivations,
I think
and
the only real good characters are the children.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
I
they're
mean, the
dealing with what they have.
innocence.
Yep. But then again, they're wee shits as well. Because look at the Carlos, like over the jug of water. Like, let's not forget
Oh,
that. They proper stitched him up. Like, that wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I
and there
will
wasn't.
say something hilarious about that I'd like to point out about the just the Mexican culture in general. So you know that kid with the big eyes? His nickname was Owl.
Oh yes, yes.
So in Mexican culture, they pick your flaw like a physical trait that's a flaw, and that's your new nickname. For example, if you have a lazy eye, they'll call you, "Hey, what's up, lazy eye?" Or if you're skinny, they'll be like, "Hey, what's up, skinny?" Or flaco, they'll be like, "What's up, flaco?" And it's like, yeah, so they'll pick your biggest flaw and call you that. So it's
That
like,
explains in Spanish class why I was El Gordo. now I get it.
yeah, it's I don't know, it's like a weird banter that they have over there. So if you have like, glasses, that becomes like you're now the four eyes or whatever. Like this kid just happened to have large eyes, so he became the owl. So
Oh, we do that too.
I just wanted to point that out in case you guys were like, why they give him that nickname? Yeah, that's what they do.
Gotcha. But what I loved about the kids was just the idea of brotherhood. It comes at such an early age, and especially when you're talking about wartime and a true brotherhood in the field of battle, and people protecting each other, dying for each other. But even at this age, you could see, with limited resources, they weren't fighting over the food. In fact, Jaime even says at one point, "I am starving, but I want to save the food for the little ones." I love that aspect, and I think it's true in human nature for the most part. That need to protect each other. It's inherent in who we are, whether you want to attribute a spiritualness to it or just the fact that we evolved from monkeys, which have been shown in the wild to have traits that are there's two different ways you can look at it,
We're
but
pack animals.
Yep.
yeah, but I do love
Social
that
creatures.
they emphasize that that they supported each other even when it would be easier for them with limited resources not to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Jaime has such a large and such a short film, an hour and 47 minutes. He has such a large character development, because he goes from this guy that's going to steal your comic books, going to steal your lunch money, going to punch you, going to dare you to something that's going to get you in trouble, is going to throw, um, what are those called? Um,
Oh, like the sling.
Oh, the
yeah,
catapult.
they're
Yep.
gonna slingshot you in the face. Like he went from being so mean and cruel to just saying, "Hey, I'm gonna save this food so the little ones can have something to eat." Like, wow! Like talk about character growth and character development. And
That's boys, though. Believe it or not, that's boys, and that's Carlos is the new one in the group. So this is how boys, and men, it's hierarchical. Where do you fit in the pack? You're a new pack member. We're going to test you.
mhm.
You know what I mean? That's believe it or not normal.
Hmm. I just looked up about Guillermo's parents. Apparently, his father was an automotive entrepreneur. He won the lottery in 1969, and his mother was a poet, an artist, and a homemaker. So I guess that's where the poetry and everything comes into
Hmm.
play.
But they're still together,
Interesting.
and I think that the character, the doctor, is symbolic of that staying,
The
Mhm.
eternal
loyalty,
love.
paternal love. Yeah, exactly.
And mechanic, doctor, fixing the body, fixing vehicles.
Hmm.
You're still trying to fix shit.
I see it. I see it.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, I chose this film. Kat gave me full reign to choose something. I went Cinco de Mayo. Fuck yeah! So we wanted to honor Mexican excellence in cinema, And why do you guys think? I'm just curious to know why do you guys think it's important for audiences to see Mexican directors like Del Toro tackle like global history through their own unique cultural lens?
Well, just in general, I love seeing horror from different cultural perspectives. Colin, you've mentioned this on your show sometimes. When we see like different cultures have different fears based on their own history, and if you're just seeing the same culture, like for example in the United States, we tend to fear technology, so you see that repeated time and again, or there's just like certain things that we fear as a society, and then you go to other cultures and you see it could be a fear of war, of poverty, and I just think it's important to see all of the aspects, because otherwise you just become too laser focused, and it's just more boring if you're only seeing one culture all the time. And anyway, so I really appreciate you opening my eyes with this one.
Yeah, that's I think as a horror fan, that's something like it's not a just the way you frame the question. I don't know. That's like a normie thing of, oh, it's not Hollywood. Do you know what I mean? Where if you're lucky enough not to just have Hollywood as your cultural zeitgeist, if that makes sense. Maybe because I come the other side of the world, completely different perspective. As a horror fan, we're always looking for that story. We're always looking for that unique little tribe at the top of a Tibetan mountain. What's their ghost story? What's your monster? What's your twist in this? Because we're always looking for those new experiences. Um, like earlier on had a stream, we're watching live action version of Mariko Chan. It's Japanese live action version of an anime. And even that, you see their culture and the way they bring in, their form of exorcism, for example, dealing with ghosts and what that means, and yokai, etc. It's great. It's something different. It refreshes it gives you new ideas yourself. Um, yeah, and same as I'm trying to think. There was another Mexican movie I watched. It was investigating like the Bruja and stuff, and like Mexican voodoo. I can't remember the name of it. Like, we have watched so many movies, but that was purely set in Mexico. This isn't, it's dealing with Spanish culture, which is different from Mexican culture. You know what I mean? But you can kind of see the taint on it. The lens of even that from a different perspective. It just makes it interesting. It gives new perspectives, but I think it's down to the person. Each individual has a different, because their life experiences or what they're interested in gives that lens, and you need to let that happen. Like I said, we see Del Toro now, and he's been corporatized, and any movies like Frankenstein could easily be made by any other director and not him. I mean, you can't tell the difference, and like I said, it's a shame. And would they these sort of movies out there in addition to every other one? Like, I don't know if you've ever watched any French horror.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That there's something, you know what I mean? That they
There's
go off with some great stuff there. Flipping Scandinavian stuff's fantastic. You look at a lot of Scandinavian stuff. I'm not a fan of found footage, for example, but Troll Hunter is one of my favorite movies, and that's purely from a Scandinavian point of view. There's loads of movies like that. Just keep mixing it up. Stop falling into patterns. Stop just
exactly.
trying to put everything into the same box, because it doesn't
Right.
work.
Yeah. We need to know all the things there are to fear, because there's so much. There's so much out there. I want to know what to be prepared for at any time. So
When you travel.
Yeah. Who needs sleep? Bring it all on.
Yep. Brace the nightmares.
So the last question that I have is mainly about his legacy. Many people call Pan's Labyrinth his masterpiece, but Del Toro himself often says The Devil's Backbone is its brother film. If you had to pick one that better represents his skill as a storyteller, which would it be and why? The Backbone or Labyrinth?
I'll go first, Colin, because you'll have a much better answer. Because I am ashamed to admit that I have not seen Pan's Labyrinth, and I know I'm probably gonna
Bye.
get-
Just
I
kidding.
know I know I'm gonna get kicked off for that,
I'm
but
just kidding.
I am aware of some of the references from it. I'm sure I've seen parts of it and stuff like that, but I think maybe the reason why he claims that this one is important is because like we talked about, like Kat mentioned with his parents. I feel like this one is probably a little bit more personal, and I think there are aspects of his parents represented in characters in this movie that probably makes this a more personal. And it was very, I mean, it was one set. It was very low budget. It was very contained, which also made it very you know personal, and I'm trying to find the right word, visceral. So I think maybe that's why this one would be maybe even ahead of Pan's Labyrinth, which is more big budget, just visually epic from what I've seen, but this one is just more personal.
Yeah.
With Pan's Labyrinth, because it's a fantasy, a dark fantasy, you forget, like, it's set basically during the same period. And it's only towards the end you get reminded, you're crashing back into the real world. But to remove that, there would just be a generic fantasy, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's just a girl's imagination trying to cope. But you could easily, you could dust off the edges of Pan's Labyrinth and make it fluffy. This you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you remove the ghost from this, for example, and this is still gritty. This is still, it's still a horror. You know what I mean? It's just a horror of humanity. Pan's Labyrinth. Well, I'm not I'm not denigrating the film because it's one of my first Del Toro movies. I love it. But you need the special effects to tell a story. It's a visual story, and if you remove the special effects or the creatures, you wouldn't have much of a story there. So I can I can see it. This does much more with much less.
I agree. It definitely speaks to me more. Pan's Labyrinth, just it resonates more with me with that, and it reminds me of movies of my childhood. We have Labyrinth, with Bowie, and it kind of takes the spin on that, and the monsters, like Monster Squad. The monsters aren't the bad guys always, so I just love that. It just felt more homey to me. Still, it has that sadness, but it's the type of film that I can watch. It's more watchable for me because it doesn't hurt my heart as much as The Devil's Backbone.
You get a lot of respite in Pan's Labyrinth because it goes into the fantastic world. You can just
Kind of
you can
escape.
switch off, but
Yeah.
remove those bits at the sort of end, where it brings you back to the real world. You get, it'd just be a fluffy dream.
Yeah.
But this doesn't afford you that.
No. And at the end of the film, I'm like, fuck, I really hope those kids are okay. I
Yeah, but
really
it
do
could
hope
easily
they're
not be.
okay. I don't know, man. That walk, and at the beginning of the movie, they even said, a lot of kids that escape to go into town, they never come back because it's really hot, and at nighttime, it's dangerous. So,
Look, Conchita demonstrated that. Look at the state of her when she walked overnight. She was
yeah,
not in a
it's
good.
rough.
She was not in a good
Yeah, I was
condition.
like, did she bring water? What the hell? Like, she knew she was going far. Like,
Well, you don't drink that water, as we learned.
Oh yeah, no, that body water,
That's Santi water.
Santee water.
Oh God! Have you ever heard this? Have you ever heard this joke? Right? People are preferred to swim in the ocean, which is full of corpses, but they won't swim in its pool with a dead body. So it just goes to prove everyone has an acceptable corpse to water ratio.
I never thought of that.
That's true.
Nice.
Yeah, because there could be a dead whale in the ocean and you just keep swimming, but in a pool, no. That makes a lot of sense. And it's even smaller ratio in a hot tub. You go, nope. the hand just kind of hitting you in the hot tub. Ugh.
Get off. Behave.
Get off. Oh my goodness. Well, do you guys have anything else to add to this wonderful film that we witnessed?
I just wanted to say thank you. I mean, it's something that was under my radar, and for anyone out there who has not seen it, I would say this is definitely worth it. You just want to, leave some time after to either reflect or maybe go the other way and just watch a comedy after, because it will stick with you.
You're gonna need some recovery, some aftercare.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for those kids, maybe you just make a U-turn, grab some of that gold. Maybe you pay off a car on the way to the town.
Maybe pay for a car or something. Oh goodness.
But thank you for bringing this to my
attention. If we ever do Pan's Labyrinth, we've never done Pan's Labyrinth review on this channel, but if we ever do one, since you've never seen it, we'll be like, come on, Chris.
Sure.
First timers, let's pop that Pan's cherry. Let's go.
So it's not about Peter Pan? No, I'm just kidding.
No, definitely not. No Peter Pan here. Just a few things. Next week we are going to have Twilight Production. They will be coming on the show and discussing their short film that was released called Demo, DEMU, and we're gonna kind of go over the film and see where you guys can watch it and kind of pick their brain about it. Definitely love supporting our indie film producers and kind of discussing a little bit about what's going on. Yeah,
we're having a lot of fun covering that, and we're doing The Grudge next week. So,
The Grudge.
That's a good one.
Yep. We started because when we're going through the scary movie, we decided to look at some of the movies that are being parodied, not the obvious ones.
Nice, very nice.
Because we wait for Scary Movie 6 to come out.
Yeah, so support your host and go check out the scary movie reviews. Luda did an awesome job with those.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much, Kat. You want to talk about our What's in the Box challenge?
Oh, yes. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we're doing a raffle for an autograph photo from Elvira. So make sure you subscribe so you can get into our drawing to win said autograph.
Very nice.
Ooh, very cool.
Yay. Yep. See you guys next week where we will be joined by Twilight Productions. And I hope you guys have a great evening. Thank you for watching and hanging out. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Cusier, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to thank you for listening to Delight and Fright with your hosts, Luna and Cat, a podcast for outcasts.